Hey, today we're talking about a subject that affects every single home care owner, whether you have one client or whether you have 500 clients. This is a conversation that you need to have sooner rather than later in order to save your peace, to save you from being able to thrive in your industry, and making sure that you have a agency that works for you and you're not working for it. Today we're talking about work-life balance, and that's here on ActionCast. Welcome to ActionCast. We are here, and today we have Jared Carter. And I know Jared through our action leaders. I've also been able to see you a few times in real life with summits and events like that. And the one thing, Jared is the person that when you're in the room and when you talk to Jared, he has such a firm grasp of where he's standing in his work and where he's standing in real life that it flows seamlessly. A lot of times you talk to owners and that you can tell there's this internal struggle of, should I do that? Should I do this? Should I do this? And Jared is very grounded in where he is as an owner, but also as a husband and as a father. And he has, you probably don't feel this way. I'm sorry, but you feel, it feels to me like you have the perfect reaction whenever we say, hey, this is coming up or this. You instantly know you have this wonderful barometer of, if I can do that, if I can't, can I contribute to that? And it's so amazing to see somebody that has such a firm grasp of their work-life balance. So welcome to the show, Jared.
Thank you, Katie. I appreciate you having me.
Absolutely. Well, Jared is an owner in Central Florida. You own Family Home Care of Central Florida. And I know that your route to home care hasn't been the same as everybody else's. You've had a lot of different things in your life. And one of the things I know about you is that you were a professional fishing guide for a long time and still have a love for that.
Right.
So how about, to start with it, how do you feel like that is attainable across careers? Like you were a fishing guide and the different things. Is work-life balance more challenging in the home care industry? Is it more challenging during certain season, like say when you're first starting? How does that compare to the other industries you've been involved with?
Right. So I would say that you control your own work-life balance in anything that you do, right? I could tell you the worst industry I was in for work-life balance was fishing. It was early mornings, late afternoons, and it was nonstop work, right? To the point where I got out of it because I was losing my passion for it, right? Out of college, I went into the corporate world and worked for Lincoln Financial for about 15 years. And it was, the corporate life just wasn't for me, right? Money was great. Benefits were great. Everything was great, except I felt like they owned me. There was always somebody calling me, asking me, like checking up on me, almost micromanaging, right? And, I got out of that voluntarily, kind of right around COVID. And it's the year that I decided to leave, I had won Rep of the Year for my division of the company, all right, of Lincoln Financial. And I was just like, it doesn't fill my bucket, right?
Right.
And so, I was able to take a little bit of time off and really, analyze what I wanted for my life. And I felt like being able to start something from scratch. I'm an independent home care agency, not tied to any franchises or anything like that. I just wanted to go build something on my own. But I wanted to do it where I could also dedicate time to my kids and to my wife and everything like that. And that is, in home care ops, we talk about non-negotiables, right? That's one of my non-negotiables is family time, period. It's not, I don't care what's going on at work, I will make time. I don't miss much for my daughters. Like I have, Kendall is 13, and she's playing volleyball. I go to every volleyball match she has, no matter what it is, when it is, take her to practice, do all that. And I want to invest that time with them because no matter how many hours my agency is at, they're not going to remember anything about what was going on when they're adults, but they are going to remember that I was always there, and it doesn't matter to me if I increase my hours, 5%. It does matter, but not at the expense of the relationship with my family,
That's good. And I think that that's one of the first things I noticed about you. And like when I got to know you, is that you own your business doesn't own you. And like you have an ability to, when someone asks you a question, if it's part of your non-negotiables, it's not really a question to you. It just becomes a statement of, oh, I can or I can't.
Right.
And I think that a lot of home care owners are stuck in a route, a pattern of they feel like their children need them, but they feel like their agency needs them. Sorry, I'm told you I'm going to be coughing.
Yeah.
But they feel like all that, and they don't know how to have those absolutes. So what are some non-negotiables, and how do you set those non-negotiables, especially early in your agency?
I can tell you right now, it all starts with your team. Okay. If you do not have the right people in place, that you have the faith that you can walk away and not be bothered or whatever, you've kind of started wrong.
Right.
Okay. And the way that I look at it is have a want, a need, a desire, profitable, and to do all of the things that we need to do as business owners. Right. But I think that so often we put profits and everything else above your personal time or whatever. Now, listen, I'm not saying if the building's on fire, you walk away from everything because you have extra. You have to be responsible. You have to do all of the things that you need to do to maintain your business. But to me, it all starts with people. Okay. I run a lean office. Okay. We have, including myself, we have 4 people. Okay. I have a recruiter, a scheduler, and then a community relations person that I'm cross training, to help with operations and everything like that. Right. But I have it set up to where, the community relations is Gabriella in the office. But I just have it set up where neither of us are out of the office at the same time. And when I'm gone, she's responsible. And when she's gone, I'm responsible. Right? Typically, we're always together. We're always on the same page. We have great communication. We've got a team text that if anything is going on, if I'm out of the office, I know what's going on.
Right.
But I'm not going to respond to everything because I know my team is handling it. I'm not going to step in when I'm out of the office to come over the top on these ladies because they have it under control. If they need me, they can call me. But I rarely get a call. And one of the things that I tell them all is there's nothing that you can screw up to the point that I can't fix it. Right? Give them a license to screw up. They're going to. We all screwed up at some point, and we all needed somebody to clean up our mess. But if you do not empower your team to take on some of your responsibility, you're never going to have work-life balance. And, one thing that I will say is you're not going to get them to do everything the way that you would do it. Right? But if you're going to micromanage to that level, the cost is going to be your work-life balance, right?
Right.
There's no getting around that. If you want to be in control of everything 365 days a year, fill your boots.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to be miserable,
Right.
right? You've got to empower your team to go out there and take the reins on some issues. And you know what? They may uncover something that you didn't even know that's better than your process, right?
That's so true.
Everybody, if you are truly a team managed agency, you need to let your team manage, right?
Yeah. And I think that especially, I mean, in action leaders, obviously that's something that we're always trying to coach. And that is the most challenging part for a lot of owners is losing that. It's almost an illusion of control, because the truth of the matter is you're one person. You're not controlling everything, whether you think you are or not. But they have an illusion of control because they're so micromanaging their admin staff or their office people that are supposed to be over this, that those people are just becoming workers and they're not actually performing in the duties they were hired to do.
Correct.
And so that's a big challenge with owners and operators. Like we see that a lot. How do you find those people? Because they probably want a work-life balance too. How do you find those?
Yeah. So I'm very big on probably unorthodox, right? But I'm more of somebody that goes and hires people for culture and what are they willing to do?
Right.
And seeing what I could do to fit them into the organization. And there's people that'll tell you that's a disaster.
Wow.
Right. Yeah. But like we talk about caregivers, right? Well, you hire for heart, you can teach them skills, right?
Right.
Well, you can do the same thing with office staff. You can do the same thing. Like, we're not going out there looking we can't afford to pay people what they would make in corporate America. Right. So sometimes you've got to find somebody, maybe they have a couple warts on them. Maybe they have this, or maybe they're not, maybe they're younger. Right. Mm-hmm. Well, you have to invest a lot in these people. Right. I mean, like I'm investing a lot in Gabriella. Right. But I also pay Gabriella very well. Right. If you're going to go cheap on hiring people, and everybody has to find what that level is. Right. But if you're going to go cheap and they are good, somebody's stealing them from you because you're not willing to pay them what they're worth. Right. So you have to have a pulse on what they're really bringing to the table and pay them what they're worth. Okay. Mm-hmm. I can tell you right now, I'm not the highest paid person in my company. Okay. So there's now long run, I will be, but today I'm not, right? I'm investing in my people and they know that I am empowering them to do more and more and more and grow with the company. And there's a lot of different ways that you can do that. Again, if you find the right person. If you don't have the money to do it, hey, that's fine. There's other ways to do it, whether it's giving them a sliver of equity into the company or whatever. If you find that person, lock them up and let them grow with your company, right? Mm-hmm. I've done that. I've done the salary thing. I've done it all. It always hasn't worked, right? If I'm going to give somebody equity, they got to earn it.
Right.
And there's a 3 to 5 year plan for that. And if they don't stick around for it, they don't get anything. But you show them a pathway that if you stick with me, your payday is in 3 to 5 years, right? Mm-hmm. Whenever you become a partner in the organization, but they've earned it. Right. And now you're buying yourself some time to get that person truly invested and growing. And, to me, it's not all about money. It's about ability and then your ability to manage and empower these people to do more and more for you, where it's not always a financial equation, right? They're
Right.
not coming to you and asking you for your next raise or
Mhm.
hey, what about my commission or my bonus or whatever? No, it's up front. This is your
Right.
comp plan. Comp plans change every year based on what I want to drive in the business, you know? And I analyze it and I say, we set goals together and we say, these are your goals and we're going to help each other hit our goals. If the business hits our goals, you're going to hit your goals and you're going to be rewarded for the effort that you put in, right? But when I'm gone, they're incentivized to
Right.
keep the company on track
Right.
and not stray just because I'm not in the office watching everything.
That's really good. And it actually shows how you create a work-life balance by making it worth it to other people.
Mhm.
Like the truth of the matter is, if you feel like an hourly employee, the feeling I've been an hourly employee, the feeling of being an hourly employee is totally different than the feeling of controlling your financial destiny on any level. I
Yep.
mean, and so you're making it as worth it to them as it is to you. And
Right.
so, and I think that goes back to you not being afraid to have those core principles that you don't, you don't mess around with them just because maybe in the moment they're not as convenient for you, or you couldn't, I would have made X amount much this year if I didn't have these comp plans. Well, that's negative thinking because probably you wouldn't have had that growth. so
Correct. Correct.
so that's
It's
very good.
funny. I joke around, but I was out for like 3 days last week. Okay.
Mhm.
And in those 3 days, I joke around because every time I take a few days off, we have a flurry of new clients. And it's like clockwork to where, I joke around with Gabriella and I say, I think I'm going to go in for early retirement and just let you run the place, you know?
Yeah.
And it's a joke, but it's true. For some reason, every time I take a few days off, we get a flurry of clients. And it's just it really has become a joke around here where if we're in a little bit of a lull, I'm like, well, I'm gonna have to disappear for a few days, and just let the team run with it because I'm not doing anything that's helping. So let me get out of here and just turn them loose, you know.
That's
Um,
really the benefit of a team managed agency. We throw that word around, everybody says it and this and that. But when it's actually operating, it's life
mhm,
changing. I mean,
yep,
it's absolutely changes the course of so many owners' lives
yeah,
and however you accomplish that.
yeah. And what I've noticed is some of the most successful agencies that I've seen, the owners all have that.
Mm,
And it's the ones that are micromanaging and doing things like that are always kind of struggling. And I don't mean, listen, they could have 4,000 hours,
mhm.
right? But they're always involved in something or trying to figure out something new or whatever. By the way, I do it too. I'm easily distracted. So I'm not like throwing stones at anybody. I'm easily distracted. I will get people off track, right? But then you have to correct yourself as soon as you see you're off track. And whenever you have all these ideas and everything as a visionary, okay, you really have to control that because you will throw your whole team off.
Mhm.
I struggle with it all the time, right? It's like, hey, I hear about this. Let's start looking into this. And then you spend a couple of weeks researching something and it's like, well, we just wasted 2 weeks. And then you wonder
Mhm.
why your team's not performing. They're not performing because you kind of screwed up their performance,
Right.
right? So I think some of those times where you have to sit back, maybe you just need to work from home one day and think about stuff on your own. But just because you're not in the office doesn't mean you're not working. I'm in the office maybe 30 hours a week, right? But I probably work 50. I'm available every weekend. I'm available all the time. Doesn't mean my phone rings though, but they know they can get in touch with me, So that's what I would say is a lot of times you really have to look at it and say, am I giving my team the tools to manage everything that they need to be responsible if I decide to step out for a little bit,
That's awesome. Okay. Well, to kind of land the plane, to wrap this up, what if you were an owner that realized, okay, I don't have much of a work-life balance, and I think it's because I haven't empowered my team. Like they see, like in these conversations, it's like a mirror sometimes, and we look at it and think, man, I need to do this, this, and this. So now all of a sudden they have this whole mountain of things they feel like they need to do in their agency, and the people they have now you don't fit that mold that you're talking about that you have worked for in your agency, the people that you have working for you. So where does that owner that hasn't really embraced having a work-life balance but knows they need to, where do they start? What is some wisdom that you would suggest? Okay, this is the place to start, and then these are maybe a couple of the steps to take.
Right. I think it all starts with analyzing your team, right? If you don't have one person on your team that you could pick out to leave in charge, right? And if it's like a husband and wife team, you both need to be gone.
Right.
Like this isn't like, hey, I'm going to leave my wife behind and I'm going to take a day off.
Not practical.
Right? If you are in this, you need to find one person on your team that you trust that you can leave in charge. And if you don't have that person, you need to start there and find somebody. It doesn't matter what you have to pay. You got to make it work for your budget. Right? But if you don't have that person, you're going to struggle with work-life balance because we're in a 24/7, 365 business, period. Right? So you have to find one person that you could leave behind, and you need to treat them well. You need them to stick with you because people are going to come after them. Like if they prove themselves, they are going to be pursued by your competition. As soon as their name gets out there and they're doing a good job for you, people are coming after them. I know firsthand, right? And sometimes you got to look at them and say, do what's best for you, right? I'm not going to hold anybody back. If they think something is better, typically the people that have left me have come back and said, I made a mistake, right? But the business has already moved on. Right. They've been replaced. It's not like you can come back. You made a mistake, and I'm sorry you made a mistake. And that's been my experience, is everybody that's tried to go out for a bigger, better deal regrets it. Even if I didn't match the salary or offer them, hey, if you can go make 10 grand more, fill your boots. Right. They always come back and say, man, that was a mistake.
Right.
So there's usually those people come back and they ask me to help them get another job. Right. So that's how and it's happened a couple of times. Right. But you just have to be ready. By the way, that means you did a good job. If there's another company out there trying to poach your people, you're doing something really good. Right?
Yep.
But you have to make a decision on that and say, what is this worth to me? Right? I don't even know how much time I take off every year. Right? But I never say no.
Right.
And to me, that's priceless. It's up to me to make all the numbers work. And it may be me cutting something out or doing whatever. But I would say the number one thing is team, and empower the entire team to do their role and leave them alone. Right? It doesn't mean don't do meetings. We do weekly meetings. I have a pulse on everything. but leave them alone. Don't go in there and look over their shoulder on Wednesday and make sure that they're doing everything. If you're having checkups with them once a week or whatever, you're going to know if they're doing their job. Right?
Yeah.
Every Monday, we know what everybody on our team has to get accomplished for the week. And not to like go through this and, you know, this isn't like a commercial for ALE, right?
Yeah.
But what I am saying is one of the most effective things that I've done to help my team is the win the day sheet. Because whenever it comes to scheduling and recruiting and things like that, right? We have to prioritize all of those things. So I've used that to help my team realize what they have accomplished for each day, right? I don't even check it. It's for them. I don't care. As long as they got what they needed to get done.
Mm-hmm.
And next Monday, or in this case, Monday,
mm-hmm.
they're going to come with all their tasks done. We all won. They got what they needed to get done, and the team got everything done that we needed to get done. And as long as you can manage through all of that, you should be able to take a day off. Now, I'm not saying test it and go on a cruise for 10 days to Europe,
Mm-hmm.
but force yourself to take 1 to 3 days off where you're available and test it, right? Don't just walk out and leave everybody for them to screw up.
Right.
You know, but you've got to test it before you go out and truly walk away. And if you can do that, you're going to build confidence in your team that they can execute and manage things when you're gone. If every phone call for the agency is coming to you, you're never going to have work-life balance.
Right.
We all want to have control over it so that we can make the right decisions and do all that. But if you do it that way, you're never going to have what you truly want, which is freedom from your company. You know,
that's so true. That's very good wisdom.
Yeah. Well, not many people say I'm wise. So thank you, Katie.
No, you are. And I think you're just so firmly grounded in where you are, who you are, and who your team is. Like,
Mm-hmm.
and like you said, they're going to make mistakes. There's going to be challenges. We make mistakes. Like
Mm-hmm.
there isn't anyone that doesn't make mistakes. So expecting your team to be above that. But you know, a lot of what you said was just treating them like adults and not children that are performing little tasks for you. You know, if my daughter, she's 8 years old, if she goes wash the dishes, I check up behind her because
Mm-hmm.
she's 8 years old and she's washing the dishes. But at some point, you have to empower people not to feel like that 8-year-old that's being checked on all the time.
Yep.
And that's so true. If you want them to operate in the strength of their position. So thank you very much for this conversation. Thank you.
Absolutely. It was fun.
Your heart for home care. I absolutely know you run an amazing agency and that you have it together. I know nobody wants to hear that. That's but you have it together. You have the work life, and we appreciate that. And for any home care owners out there that this just felt like more overwhelmed because it made you feel some kind of condemnation because you don't feel like your work is there, don't do that. Rewind this, get some tips. See where you're at, and then just take action from there. It's one step at a time. He did this one step at a time. So thank you today for joining us, and we'll see you again next time on ActionCast.